7 US warships were patrolling along the same route. A nuclear submarine was lurking in the background. P-8A Poseidons were conducting continuous surveillance. This was a routine nighttime mission. Suddenly, this rhythm turned into an operational alert. Initially, a small target appeared on the US Navy's radar screen. Based on its speed and course, it became clear that the boat was not an ordinary fishing vessel. A speedboat from Venezuela thought it could evade this network using secret routes. As it broke away from the coast, it changed course abruptly, increased its range, reduced its profile, and chose dark spots to avoid leaving a trail. However, aerial surveillance, helicopters on deck, and sensors waiting below deck had been monitoring this route for some time. Helicopters stationed on US Navy ships and a maritime patrol aircraft picked up the contact. Hailing warnings were recorded, but there was no response. The US Navy's pursuit of this boat lasted for minutes, and the calls to stop were again unsuccessful. Engagement clearance was given, and the US Navy's short-range precision munitions were deployed. The Venezuelan boat applied light discipline. It turned off its automatic identification system. It changed speed abruptly and pushed towards its destination, moving away from the coast. At that very moment, MQ-9 Reaper aircraft and MH-60 helicopters were waiting, combat-ready, on the decks. The net was open. The window was narrow. There was no margin for error. The chain of detection began with Poseidon at 0011. The anomaly in the surface picture was outside standard traffic. Course breaks, speed increases, and AIS silence converged in the same file. The target profile called for first shadowing, then interception procedures. The P-8A left a trail with its wide-area radar scan. The electro-optical turret acquired the thermal signature. It was relayed to surface elements via the link network. At 0014, an Arleigh Burke destroyer locked onto the radar image. The task force initiated the alert, intercept, neutralize sequence. The Reaper ascended. The MQ-9 Reaper serves two purposes for such targets at sea. 1. A fixed eye. 2. A laser. The MTSB sensor turret tracks the target in the visible infrared band, day or night. The laser designator links both its own munitions and those of another platform in the network to the target. It has long range, high endurance, and wide scanning. However, keeping the axis steady at sea is not as easy as on land. If the target jinks, or if waves and glare increase, a momentary interruption reduces the probability of a hit. 0021, the Reaper marked first. It forced the strike window. The target boat increased speed and zigzagged. The first firing window closed. The boat narrowly evaded the attack. This did not mean the chain was broken. On the contrary, it triggered the next link in the chain. Romeo was coming. In fact, Reaper's missed shot was not a misfire, but a short window shift on a moving target. The MH-60R Romeo approached the boat from low-medium altitude. They squeezed the boat from different directions at the same time as Reaper. Although the boat managed to fend off Reaper's shot, it had little chance against Romeo. Because when Romeo entered the scene, it generated the same laser spot, but from a different direction, and captured the spot left by the Reaper. The MH-60R Romeo is essentially an anti-submarine helicopter. However, the radar, FLIR, and semi-active laser-guided munitions it carries make it equally lethal against surface targets. The laser rangefinder designator links the Hellfire or 70mm APKWS type guided rocket to the target. The Hellfire, launched from the M299 launcher, follows wherever the light spot goes with its semi-active laser seeker. The moment the target enters the open area, the spot is fixed. The shot is fired. Neutralization occurs within seconds. The Romeo attack helicopter locked onto the boat and fired the Hellfire missile. Here, Romeo's advantage is simple. The line of sight to the target is not lost as it approaches, and the pilot's stabilization systems compensate for sway and sea glare. Therefore, the window missed by the Reaper brings Romeo into a more accurate geometry.
The Caribbean night was calm, almost too calm. Waves splashed against the hulls of fishing boats returning to shore, unaware that in the distance, Far beyond the horizon, a storm was about to break, a storm not of nature, but of war, politics, and power. For years, the United States had tracked Venezuela's shadowy ties with drug cartels. Intelligence satellites picked up suspicious convoys at sea, dark vessels slipping quietly from hidden coves, carrying tons of cocaine and weapons, and at the center of it all the feared narco cartel boats. This time, though, things were different. Washington was done with warnings. The White House had approved a mission, a strike, at a secure naval command room. Screens glowed with live drone feeds. The chatter of operators filled the air. Target confirmed, fast-moving boat, suspected cartel cargo. Destination, Cuba, later bound for Europe. Admiral Reynolds leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. We cannot let that cargo reach its buyers. Authorize engagement. Moments later, the skies came alive. From a U.S. Navy destroyer positioned stealthily near Puerto Rico, a drone launched silently into the night. Its wings cut across the darkness like a predator in search of prey. Inside the cartel boat, the atmosphere was different. Loud music blasted. Men laughed. Weapons stacked beside crates. They were confident. They thought the ocean belonged to them. But suddenly, the sea betrayed them. Above, a faint hum. One of the cartel guards squinted upward. Boy, escuches eso? Do you hear that? Before anyone could react, boom, a missile tore through the night sky, striking the boat's stern. Fire erupted instantly, crates exploded like fireworks, and the ocean turned into an inferno. Panic erupted. Men screamed, diving into the water. Their boat, once a fortress of power, was now a coffin. Back in Washington, the president was briefed. Sir, the strike was successful. The cartel boat has been neutralized. Intelligence confirms links to Venezuelan state officials. But while the White House celebrated, chaos rippled through Caracas. Nicolás Maduro, Venezuela's strongman leader, received the report in his palace. His face turned pale. He slammed the desk. The Americans dare to strike my waters? My allies. This is war.